You are watching Travel World Online.
Sir, you started your travel and tourism journey 40 years ago. How did you enter the industry and how was it like then?
Actually, Shweta, it's a very interesting question. I was working in an advertising space selling company in Kolkata, and I had gone to meet
Okay.
a travel agent who was our client. He's a very famous personality, Mr. Dinesh Trivedi, ex Trinamool Congress MP, now of course independent politician. Dinesh liked me a lot, and he was looking for a manager for their Bhubaneswar office. And imagine me without any experience in travel. I was only doing space selling and advertising. So here I am. I land up in Kolkata airport. He hands over a ticket and says, "We are going to Bhubaneswar." And I said, "For what?" He says, "You are taking over the branch head of our travel wings in Bhubaneswar." I said, "Dinesh, are you kidding me? I don't know the ABC of travel." And ABC in those days meant those thick blue and red books, which were the timetables of airlines. And he said, "Gopi, you will not only learn the ABCs, mark my words, you will become one of the masters in India in the travel and tourism trade, and you will go places." That is how I entered the travel and tourism industry. It was very different then. I can give you a lot of anecdotes. I was in Bhubaneswar, and we had the VVIP passenger, um, and he had to reach Delhi the next morning urgently. So I go to Indian Airlines in Bhubaneswar. People from Indian Airlines will be shocked when I tell this. So I said, "Mr. Basu, boss, ये seat तो लेना ही लेना है मुझे." You know what he did? Because in those days the manifests are all in pencil. He rubbed off the last name, put my passenger's name, and he flew. And when this fellow landed, he said, "You're overbooked." So like that, many experiences, including almost getting beaten up in a tribal village in Koraput. Fantastic experience, I must tell you.
Oh my
Spending a
God.
whole night on the Christmas Eve on a ship in Paradip Port with the captain, celebrating with rum cake. Those days were unbelievable, and I was all of 21, 22. Absolutely fresh, young, footloose, fancy free, and very different. Completely very different. You cannot imagine, like chalk and cheese today.
Can you take us through the major landmarks and achievements in your remarkable journey?
Actually, there are quite a few. And in my memoirs, which is getting published next year, I'll cover all of them. However, just a very few brief things. One is, of course, joining Trade Wings from Travel Wings, a sister concern, and handling the Indian cricket team, the BCCI. So we had people like Mohinder Manal and Ravi Shastri sitting in front of me for tickets. Kapil Dev calling me to Sundarnagar for handing over his ticket. Me traveling to Kanpur on the eve of the last test where Azharuddin made 3 centuries in a row, and getting their Australian visa form signed. Mr. Kapil Dev obviously did not come to my room to sign, and Mr. Gavaskar said, "Please send Gopinath to my room." Everybody else came and signed, and I built a fantastic relationship. I'm still in touch with Jimmy and Ravi. In fact, Ravi and I went to a sports tourism partner. Ravi is Ravi Shastri, by the way, our coach. Uh, you know, we went into a sports tourism company partnership, which had to be broken because he became a coach. So I had to go back to my mice and leisure journey. Then I joined trade Thomas Cook for a 11-month period, and before American Express headhunted me. And 87 for 12 years, I had the most glorious journey. And I must tell you that even today, if you look at the human resources principles and the policies, you cannot beat American Express TRS. When I had an accident, uh, the country head sent me flowers. Why should he send me flowers? He's sitting right on top, and I'm a small fry travel counselor. They waived almost 70,000 rupees excess medical bill for my entire, mediclaim. I won 3 regional great performer awards for outstanding customer service. And one of them led me to be part of a 7-member team which went to New York for the Worldwide Great Performer Award, which is a 3-day trip with $4,000 in travelistics. Imagine $4,000 then. It bought me my first Maruti 800. And then, of course, Cox and Kings happened. I became the chief operating officer based out of Chennai. Fabulous growth. I grew that company from 50 crores to about 200 crores before I left in 2001. Then I was country head and senior VP for Corny. And I started, ran the CIBT visa division. It's not the VFS, it's the CIBT, which is like Udan or whatever. But I went to the US for a 6-week training. Then, of course, I came back to Bangalore, joined my friend Shravan as the CEO of Travel Tours. And in 2010, I decided that I cannot work for anybody else. And I became an entrepreneur, doing consulting, doing headhunting for travel, and also MICE and leisure. So for the last 11 years, I've been doing this, but you can wipe out the last 18 months from that because, as all of you know, it's been a complete wipeout. So I decided last month that I will get back to the very lucrative headhunting opportunity of CXO hiring, placement of senior people, and we're just signing up the first client next week. So that's my journey in brief.
Can you do a quick comparison on then and now? How have you seen our industry evolve and change?
You can actually say I've seen it evolve right from the infancy of manual, everything manual, ticketing manual, calls manual, but customer service is an outstanding. Today, if you call up a travel counselor sitting in front of that dumb computer, she or he will only tell you what is in front of her. She cannot think outside the box. Whereas in our days, I'm talking about the 80s, we could bring down fares by using what are called fictitious points. Have you heard of fictitious points? Have you heard of
I have heard of it at this point. Yeah.
So we had 2 very famous fictitious points. One is, if it is an eastbound journey, Bandar Seri Begawan in Brunei. And the other was my favorite city in Croatia called Split, from where my Goran Ivanisevic comes from. So we used to use these 2 fictitious points to reduce fares as much as 30-40%. You ask any of them to do any calculation which will bring down the fare, he will say, sir, bye-bye, I cannot do it. So that's one change. Second change is technology has overtaken us. If you don't cope up with it now, you are in for big trouble. So even at this age, I'm still learning nuances in new technology, only for working purpose, not for research and all that. And I realized that moving forward, you will see the likes of artificial intelligence and data sciences gaining in importance. But let me tell you, what is the significant change that is going to happen? The way travel and tourism is run is going to be very different from what it was 2 years ago.
I totally understand that, sir. Brings me to the next question, like the way you said it.
Pandemic has vanquished the industry for nearly 18 months now. Do you see light at the end of the tunnel? What are your expectations from the industry a year from now?
Excellent question, Shweta. First of all, I'm an eternal optimist. So definitely I see light at the end of the tunnel for several reasons. One is that once, for example, in Karnataka, in Bangalore, 50% of the population have had their first shots. So, and I'm not talking about 1.5 billion people getting the shots. Not relevant. You know why? It is the traveling public and the corporate who will travel. So that's about maybe 20 crores out of 150 crores. So if 20 crore people from urban India, forget about the villages in the rural, because they are going to go to only the nearest Mela. So if they get vaccinated, both vaccinations done, and the confidence picks up in being able to travel to the next town, that's number one. Number two is that there has to be a positive momentum built, but by various sources in our industry. And the unfortunate part I see, Anil, you will agree with me that every association, everything in travel, they don't even know what to do to come out of this mess. They're only hoping, they're praying, they're saying that there would be some what? Travel with a vengeance.
Yes.
What vengeance? Unless your infrastructure is ready, your flights are in place, what vengeance will you show? Yes, there will be some domestic travel, there will be some travel to the hills, etc. But to bring back real travel, which will earn money for the travel fraternity, outbound has to start, especially to Thailands and Bali's, and most critical, inbound has to rebound. And I'm seeing some good signs because I recently got an inquiry, even though I don't handle travel anymore, for a group of people from Canada to visit India next year end. So I handed it over to my friend who handles inbound. So these are two things. Now coming back to the industry and the people inside the industry, if they don't change, they will perish. I can visualize, and I'm not being pessimistic here, that except for the OTAs, except for the big boys like Akbar, the consolidated TBOs of the world, and except for small, niche, genuine counseling travel operators, I can see, and mark my words, could be 70% will be wiped out. They'll have to look for other revenue. They have to look for ancillary jobs. They may have to drive a vehicle. I don't care, but this is what is going to happen. Second is that people will have to quickly unlearn and relearn. The way travel and tourism will be bought is going to be very different. 90% will be done online with fabulous discounts because there'll be bargaining platforms, negotiating platforms, which are live. You could actually throw a price and say, boss, now you match. These are all things are coming, which in the next 2 years, I could be, a little few months here and there, but this is the sign on the wall.
For youngsters entering our industry now, could you suggest some tips and provide guidance?
Interesting. I'll have to go back to my 40 years ago when I was a youngster with stars in my eyes. The unfortunate part, Shweta, is that many youngsters, in fact, most youngsters, are looking for a quick fix. They want to become managers, general managers in 2 years. They are not willing to learn the basic ropes. They are not willing to put their, feet dirty. I'll give you examples in my own life. There were days in the winter of Delhi, I've stood outside the American embassy to get tokens for early submission of our passengers. There have been days I've been standing outside the ECNR campus, ECNR building, I don't know what is it, Sardar Patel Bhavan, I think, and to get 7 passports stamped. Those are early learnings. And I can tell you, if you do not make mistakes early in life, you had it. Because the first and only visa mistake I made was when I was with Thomas Cook. And it was actually not my mistake. The date of entry to Africa was a day late for a very large businessman, and he had to lose 2 days. It was my visa boy Dharamveer's fault. I did not blame him. I took the hit. And you will have to constantly upskill yourself. You must become a master in things like Excel. How to use social media. You cannot shy away from any of these now. And if you think that is all sugar and honey, it's all travel overseas, etc., you're in for a rude shock. Roll up your sleeves, and you could reach heights like some of us have. And but looking back, it is going to come back, and I'm looking forward to the day, even though I will not be in the industry, when flights are full, there are no masks in aircraft. Thank you.
Now, I would like to request you to tell us about your new venture.
So a very interesting question, Anil. It is about 2 months ago I took this call that travel and tourism is not going anywhere. At least not for us, not for me, at least for the next 18 months. And I cannot survive without revenues. And I went back to something I did when I started my consulting in 2011. But this time with the difference that we only hire for our clients senior executives, engineers, pilots, etc. So the industries that we have chosen is aviation, travel, tourism, hospitality. Obviously, those are my strength areas. And a little bit of technology in the travel trade. That again, we have to learn. So to that extent, that will be a little slow part of our business. So I've established a corporate office in Coimbatore where I'm relocating to. And we have built a very strong team, Delhi, Bombay, Kolkata, and Bangalore, whose the regional heads are expected to bring in business and make a huge windfall each time they do that. Wonderful business. And, as you know, I have tremendous network, and keeping in touch with friends and increasing my network and maintaining them has been part of my success story. So I'm looking forward to a wonderful journey where I'll also be able to recover some of the losses in my earlier assignments. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here with us, sir. It was an excellent opportunity for me precisely to talk to you on this platform and to hear those wonderful words. I wish you all the best, and I bring your thoughts.
I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to share my 40 years of travel and tourism journey as I leave the industry. In fact, for all practical purposes, I've left it. We have soft launched Mohiba. Mohiba, incidentally, is an Arabic word, which means highly talented and highly skilled. And it goes with our tagline, where talent meets brands. So we are promising the customer that we will give you very carefully chosen, talented, gifted individuals who will match your profile.
Watching Travel World Online. Namaskar.
You are watching Travel World Online.